Okay. Hey, welcome back to another week of Culture Couch.
Did you miss us?
We did miss last week, and for that, we're sorry. I think, what were we doing? I think we went to go.
We picked up a washer and dryer.
Yeah.
A washer.
Yeah. Well, one thing led to another, and all of a sudden we have a washer and dryer here at the HQ.
And that's actually what we're kind of digging into today is like
Yes.
making sure your dryers are gas or electric before you buy them.
Yes. We've just been burned too many times, and it's time that we gave back and shared our wealth of knowledge on these topics, man.
So thanks for tuning in.
We're still on the article couch this week.
What's a feature of this couch that you enjoy?
I like this stuff right here. I like it. I mean, some may say it's extra, and it is, but I think it really adds to the experience.
You gain flexibility because this isn't exactly, it's cushioned, but it's lightly cushioned.
No doubt.
You get structure, but you can kind of manipulate this variable to your greatest preference.
Yes.
And so with that, just another great couch provided by the article team. So thank you so
that
much.
we paid for. Anyways, we thought it'd be great this week to talk about one of the most important things in any organization is your approach to leadership. Yes, thank you. There's this term that's thrown around a good bit, servant leadership. I think when people hear that, they probably have a lot of different ideas of what that means.
Sure.
But yeah.
I'll just be like adding like that
Yeah.
throughout this time.
Okay, sounds great.
Yes.
Sounds great. But we have a few different practices that servant leaders embody and adapt, right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes this idea of servant leadership can be misconstrued.
Great point.
Into just saying like a leader that does everything himself.
Yes.
Or just does everything the team would do.
Yeah. Or as a pushover
Right.
kind of thing.
Right. But there's a little more to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're going to dive into today. And so this first practice, checking your ego at the door.
What?
Man, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that is a time in my career where I think like the biggest thing that makes you have a big ego is insecurity. Like, and I think I've maybe talked about this before on maybe this program or another program that we have. But I felt so incompetent at my job that I was insecure. Mm-hmm. And I felt so inexperienced and like a beginner in running a coffee shop.
How'd you showcase that?
I think I was threatened by people's ideas.
Right.
As much as I would like to think that I at the time, like I wanted people's ideas because I wanted to be like inclusive of everybody, and not just come up with all the ideas myself. I didn't want to do that. As much as I would like to think that was like a big part of my mindset, at the end of the day, when people would challenge the system, I would take it personally.
Right, and that kind of is what it means to have an idea in the workplace is to challenge
Right.
the current status quo, which you happen to have had inaugurated.
Right. And I'm like, God, we're trying as hard as we can. Like, geez. And that just shows a level of insecurity that leads to ego. Because I was making it just about like me and how I feel.
Yeah.
As opposed to my job as a leader is to move this team forward and support the players on the team.
Yeah, and it's through activating and utilizing and empowering the people on your team, whereas in ego is about self-empowerment, self-growth, self-glorification. And that's what I think about when we say the word servant leadership. A servant is someone that values who they're serving. Yeah. They put value in that person. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes as a leader is to lower yourself and give value, give voice to your team so that everybody shines and the team moves forward along with you, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe that's a fear, is that you're left in the dust. Say, well, hey, this guy hasn't had any of the ideas.
Yeah.
But that never happens with a servant leader.
Yeah.
They're always praised because what they're doing is activating the team, and that's a part of growth. That's a part of success, is using your team well.
Yeah.
So checking your ego at the door, for me, that just looks similarly, is like, I'm not going to be the one with all the good ideas today. I need to give spotlight and voice to the people on my team to do that. On the other side, when it comes to servant leadership, checking your ego at the door, I think about a leader who's willing to do some nitty-gritty tasks in order to honor and keep the team going.
Yep.
I.e., if you're working at a coffee shop, maybe it's cleaning out your milk pitcher rinser when it's clogged with milk fat.
Yeah.
It's scrubbing the toilet when no one else has time right now. And I think those are some good practices to have in your noggin.
Yeah. Along with all that is this theme of vulnerability. This is also something that I struggled with early on, and something that I have to. I think I'm getting better at it now, just because I'm just a lot more comfortable and secure in who I am, but also like as a leader in this company. But early on, it was like, I feel insecure because I don't know what I'm doing. I have all these talented people around me that I'm supposed to be leading. The last thing I want to do in that space is be vulnerable with them.
Right.
Because I'm supposed to be the one that has it all together.
Right.
I'm supposed to be the one that knows everything. That is the, if I think one of the lies is, if I'm vulnerable, then I'm weak. And if I'm weak, then I can't be a leader. And really, that just couldn't be farther from what actually works.
Right.
In the workplace, like with relating to people. Such a huge part of being a leader is relating to the people you're leading. This is all so freaking simple, but it just doesn't come naturally to us often, at least me sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, and thankfully, it was something that we really owe a lot to the team on, was encouraging us to express more vulnerability in the workplace. And I know that was there was a big shift maybe 1 or 2 years ago when I was in over my head with the cafe and growth and getting pulled in all these different directions. And I kind of just owned up to feeling lost at work and feeling all these different challenges. And instead of being, ridiculed for weakness, you create something for the team to rally behind. And the team comes in and they want to help lift you up, and which pushes the whole company forward. So vulnerability is a great way to relate to the team. I love that. And I've experienced it.
For sure. Yeah. And I guess vulnerability in general, just with my personality and my past and my weaknesses, it's not something that I just exude vulnerability. So it really is like an intentional practice that I have to like consciously choose to do.
Right.
It's not always that way, but yeah, I mean, there's sometimes it seems like you're risking something by being vulnerable with your team. But really you're doing everything that you just said, but you're also leading by example in that moment of you're making it okay you're paving the way for your team to be vulnerable with one another and with you. Gosh, like if you have a team and they're not vulnerable with you as the leader, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, a player that's vulnerable with his or her coach, that unlocks so much potential in both parties and definitely moves the team forward. My last thought on this, we just kind of camped out on this first practice of
it's crucial, man. I mean, when it comes to leadership, there's so many footholds. There's so many opportunities to fall into pride, to ego, to self-aggrandizement, and to maintain vulnerability, humility, servant leadership in the workplace, I mean, that's something you got to fight for every day. And I think that's probably why we could hang out here for a lot longer too, is we've experienced it. In the years that we've been building Valor. There's a lot of opportunities to take glory for ourselves over the team.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing is I think about this transition from being player to coach. When we were starting up as a business, we were the players, right? Like we were doing everything behind the bar, pulling the shots, taking the orders, all that stuff. And, relate that to whatever parallel is in, your job or in your business you're trying to start. But you're a player, but you're also expected to be a coach, like to other people. And if you just think about like a football team, you've got the players on the field. Everybody knows their name. They're the ones that are physically they're making the plays, they're throwing the ball, they're scoring the points, making the tackles. I could go on and on of
intercepting the ball,
of all the stuff that players do. But and what are the coaches doing? They're standing there on the sideline, but it's all up here, right? Like the players are doing it, but the players would be nothing without the coaches. It would be a mess.
Right.
The coaches organize the players and put structure around the players so that the players win.
And, maybe the head coach gets some shout outs and some praise.
Yeah.
But nobody's really talking about the strength coach, the linebackers coach, all these in any sport. There's just like levels to coaching structure.
Yeah.
And that's something I guess we're talking about when it comes to checking your ego at the door. It's like when you're in leadership, you're taking yourself out of the spotlight a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're putting yourself in service and in support to the people that will be receiving the praise.
Right. And I mean, how many people know Tom Brady's name? Like most people, even if you don't even like football or whatever. But how many people know Tom Brady's quarterback coach throughout the years? Like, but he would be nothing without those coaches, and I'm sure he would say that. And that transition is whenever we train people for leadership and Valor, we talk about that transition of like, hey, up to this point, your job has been to be a player. Mm-hmm. Your job is to be performing the acts that you were hired to do. It's just, again, it's so simple, but you take the orders, you smile at people. It's more complex than that, I guess, but you're doing it. But we want you to take a mentality shift to like, okay, success at work is now defined by how well my team is doing.
Right.
Success at work is no longer defined only by how well of the latte art I'm pouring, or how well of the connections I'm making with guests, or how well the shots are going, or how clean the cafe is because I'm cleaning the tables. That's all important. But as a coach, you're moving from not only just defining success by how well those things are going, but also like if the team is not doing well, then like that's on you as a leader. Mm-hmm. And so there's that measure of accountability that you gain through being promoted to a leader position.
Yeah, and ego, when something's going wrong like that, ego says, it's not my fault that they're messing up. Like, well, you're the leader, man.
Yeah.
You have to take accountability and ownership for your team.
Yep.
And I'm sure coaches feel that too. Guy drops the ball, interception or something. You're like, well, I didn't throw the ball. It's like, well, who's getting fired, the coach or the player first? It's like, well, probably the coach.
Yeah.
So with great power
comes
great swagability. Well said. Well said.
Another great week here on the Culture Couch.
I know I learned something.
I always love sitting down and talking about this stuff with you.
We got to get someone else right here next time, huh?
Yeah.
If you want to be on Culture Couch, smash like. We'll see if I can get you on there.
Yes. If you're following along with these Culture Couches, subscribe to our channel. Comment below with any thoughts you have, any like, hey, that was interesting, or hey, that was dumb, never say that again, stuff like that.
Maybe just text us that one.
Yeah, maybe just text it. Okay. Anyways, love you.
Love you.